For some people, the session that I had today will be as boring of a session as you could possibly have it. I did 20 sets of 10 of a really light weight. Well, light in my dominant stance, but in a wide stance, I'm very weak, so it's kind of moderate weight for me. I did wide stance squats and I did 20 sets of 10 with 60 kilos. Why that? Well, I didn't have much options. I'm still recovering from that lower back or posterior chain fatigue that I got from doing all those rack pulls and the heavy deadlift the other day. So very limited options. I came in and I thought, okay, so these are the resources that I have available for today. I really need volume. I can't have intensity. I need blood. And so, you know, it took me a minute to kind of work out what I was going to do today's session. And I thought, okay, let's keep on kind of thinking about the wide stance squats, add a weight to the bar that I think is comfortable and not taxing my already pre-fatigued posterior chain. And 60 kilos from my lower back is nothing when it's fresh. And it's doable now in the state that I'm in right now. But 60 kilos from a wide stance, that's some work. You know, so there are different structures that are involved in this wide stance squats, and some structures are really weak, some structures are really fatigued. And I took 60 kilos to be the perfect dose for today, you know, and that's what training really is. It's about dosage, you know, for every given day that you are coming in, you know, you might need different dosage of training. And sometimes, you know, if you are really, really rested and really ready, you know, 60 kilos for 20 sets of 10 is nothing. It's not even a thing. Like you're not even touching the sides. But for me, this type of setup today was great. That's exactly what I needed. I needed to move. I needed blood through that whole body. And I needed to kind of work on my weaknesses. And so it was that. And I think for a lot of people, this would be a very, very boring type of session because it's simply too repetitive and nothing is really going on. But I can tell you, you know, I had a lot of fun today. Maybe this is just, you know, telling you what type of personality I am. But I've said it many times, man. I couldn't care less if I just did squats, one type of squats, one variation for the rest of my life. If I know that it's effective and it's making me strong, it's making me progress, I'm okay with that. I'm not an individual that gets stale mentally. You know, for me, that's not a thing, you know, because for me, this is not, you know, boring to me. You know, for me, there's many other things that are more boring than that. I'm in the gym. I'm having fun. I'm free. There's peace and quiet. I'm moving my body. I'm feeling great. You know, all these things are fun. You know, it doesn't really matter what the way it is. I just love existing in this place. And so for me, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing. If it's a squat, I'm there. I'm excited to do it. If it's a deadlift, similar thing. If it's a bench press or overhead press or something like that, I'm less inclined to enjoy that or whatever. But even that is a lot better than not training at all. So for me, you know, these type of sessions, I don't even know how long it took. Maybe an hour it took the whole thing. You know, I definitely could have pushed it further. But the point was not to tax my core, my posterior chain. The point was, you know, to work those positions, to allow the blood to get around to those muscles. And that was basically it. I didn't work hard. I didn't sweat. I didn't, you know, feel like I'm exhausted. It was basically, well, let's say active recovery. I know a lot of people say to me, you shouldn't be doing any of that. You should be just sitting on the couch and not doing anything. For me, I've always felt, and you know, when I started squatting every day, it became more and more apparent to me that my feelings about all of this is correct, at least for me. I feel better when I get through a session like this than not doing a session like this. Maybe my grandfather and, you know, people before him, they didn't have to do any of this because their life was different. They didn't have cars, they didn't have elevators, they didn't have freaking buildings. They were just walking from place to place. They were, you know, riding bikes or whatever they were doing, you know, climbing up a hill to get to their neighbor to have a chat or those kinds of things. Whereas what do we do, man? We go from a couch to a dining chair to a freaking car. You know, it's just 90-degree death, 90-degree death, 90-degree death, and then you go to work, sit in an office. So it's like we're always seated. You know, so for me, 20 sets of 10, it's like my grandfather climbing up the hill to his neighbor to have a chat or to borrow something. It's a tool that he needs for his land or whatever the case might be. You know, he was a much more physical existence. And so was it boring for him to walk up on the hill? How many reps did he do with that? He was basically lunging all the way up the hill. So for me, you know, these types of ideas, these greasing the grooves ideas, ideas, this like lots and lots of volume at sub-maximum, you know, weight, that's what I think of. You know, I'm just cutting down a tree. I am cutting some grass, whatever that tool is called. Is it the scythe? I must be butchering that. You know, that big hook thing with a big, you know, it's like a handle with a big hook, and people used to, back in the day before lawnmowers, they used to cut that, you know, grass with that. I remember hearing stories from my father-in-law and my father. You know, that's how, you know, used to cut grass out in the farms, you know, in Yugoslavia. I mean, probably all around the world, but that's how they did. And they say that it was a very, very taxing job, that rotational torso rotation, you know, all day. You know, there's people that did that for their neighbors and for their neighbors' neighbors. It was like, you need to be very, very strong. And then every so often you got to stop and you got to sharpen the blade and off you go again. It was a very physical existence, right? So lots and lots and lots of reps. For some reason, you know, in this contemporary, you know, training mind that we are, you know, everyone's talking about, you know, very small weight, very small amount of volume for, you know, high reps. That is great. Obviously, that is a proven thing, but I think there is a place for that sub-maximal, lots and lots of volume. You know, people talk about walking, hiking, you know, going for runs, stationary bike, like all these different activities that we do, not to smash ourselves or not to break ourselves, but just to simply move. You know, I think we can do that with anything. Anything that you feel you can do, I think you should do it. I love squatting, so there are days where I get after it, and there are days where I just go for a hike with the squat. That's exactly how I thought about today, and this is why, you know, initially I thought I'll do 5 sets, and then I'm doing 10 sets, and I was like, yeah, let's do 20 sets. And the more I did it, the more I felt I needed it, and I listened to my body. So, boring for some, absolute joy for me. I don't know, I mean, we're all different. You got to find what makes you tick, but whatever that thought is, if it gets you out of the house, out of that chair, out of that, you know, stationary, seated position, whatever you end up doing, I think it's better than not doing anything. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.